However, fear not. Shut up! I'll kill you. Hey, hey. F you. What is up, yo? This is Josh with Natty Gains, and welcome to all you natty folks out there. My dogs will not shut up in the house, so here I am out in the garage. I have no choice, so here we are. Now today, what I would like to teach you all is how to stand on your hands. Sound fun? Don't care, we're doing it. Now the handstand is a technique that I hold very close to my heart. Shit. Well, let's just say that the handstand is my bread and butter, so to speak. I am by no means competent. No, really? Why are you doing this video then? Well, let's just say that the handstand is my bread and butter, so to speak. I am by no means the best in the world at them. However, I do feel that I am competent enough to help you guys get started. Now, before we start getting into the nitty-gritty of learning this little fancy crazy technique of ours here, I'd like to give you guys a little anecdote. Now, for the longest time, I wanted to learn how to do a handstand, much like many other athletes out there do. The problem was, or the main problem that I had, was my lack of dedication for practice. That's pretty much as simple as it gets. This is something I want you all to keep in mind as we go through this video here. That's probably going to be one of the main concerns that people have if they're learning handstands, is their dedication for practice is crucial. So essentially what I'm getting at here is that everything you see in this video from henceforth, you're going to have to practice it every single day. I'm talking perhaps you'll put in about 10 to 15, 20 minutes a day into learning this technique, because that is the quickest way your body is going to get acclimated to learning the balance, the stability, everything, because handstands are actually, they're not complicated to learn, but they are complicated for your body to learn, if that makes any sense. Also, this may not have to be mentioned, however, I'm going to mention it anyways. This is definitely a more advanced movement for all you athletes out there, so if you are a beginner or a novice or anything of the sort, might I direct you over to doing some of the more basic stuff in fitness. Just do that for a little while, go over there, mingle for a bit. Come on back over here, check this video out. I'm sure it will still be up later on, and then you can start learning some handstand stuff. I'll be waiting. Are they gone? All right, cool. So, the peasants have left. They've gone off to play with their crayons and their sippy cups. Now we can go off and learn some really cool things. Here's what we're gonna do. Now I wanna keep this nice and basic and simple for everybody to absorb. This shouldn't be a long process, and it's not a hard process at all. All we're gonna do is focus on 3 key aspects of the body in regards to mobility and just general warming up. That'll be your wrists. We're gonna start with those. We're gonna just kind of get them mobilized and stretched. We'll do the same thing with your shoulders, make sure we got good static strength as well, and then we'll focus on the core overall. Okay, so starting out with the wrist, we're gonna have to realize one thing really quick. When we do a handstand, you have to realize that your hands, assuming that they're flat on the floor, not on a dumbbell or a parallel or anything of the sort, they're gonna be flat on the floor, and they're gonna be at a very extreme angle in relation to your forearms. And that is with your body weight on top of that. So there's a lot of pressure going on your wrists when you're doing these handstands. So I mentioned that just to put in perspective for all you folks that the hands are not really designed to be in such an extreme position for a prolonged period of time, much less to hold your body in an upright position upside down. So chances are it's going to take a pretty good while before your hands and your wrists and forearms get acclimated to doing all these movements to learn the handstand. Now, be that as it may, the first process is actually very simple. So simple, in fact, I'm not even going to use a background video to demonstrate it. I'm just going to do it here in real time. So here's what you do. First, we're going to take our hands and clap them together. Oh, you ain't got to clap, but you know, that's for effect. What we're going to do officially is interlock our fingers like so. And once you do that, you're just going to kind of do a wrist roll is what we call it. We're just going to kind of do this right here. And when you're doing this movement, make sure that your wrists and both hands are getting completely stretched throughout the entire movement. And you're just going to do this a few times, and then you're going to go back in the other direction. You're going to reverse it. You're just going to go back and forth and left and right and up and down and do what you want. I don't care. All right, so just after doing that, your hands and wrists should be feeling pretty good right about now. Nice and loose, warmed up, and just mobilized. You're feeling pretty good. It's all good stuff. Next, we're just gonna kick it up one more notch, and then we'll move on from there. What we're gonna do is we're gonna hop down on the floor, and you're going to get on your hands and your knees, and your hands are gonna be nice and flat on the floor with your arms fully extended. And at this position, all you have to do is just kind of rock your whole body back and forth a little bit, left and right, go in circles, do whatever you want. Just kind of get those wrists an extra stretch, if you will. And then what you're gonna do, you do this for about 30 to 60 seconds, somewhere around there, and then you can just flip your hands around and then do the exact same thing, 30 to 60 seconds. This will kind of give them a really good prep work before you start going on to the actual progressions of the handstand. All right, next up, shoulders, and it's the exact same concept. You warm up, you stretch them out, mobilize. Now with the shoulders, there's really nothing new in terms of warm-up routines. You would want to do the usual as if you were to do a normal shoulder workout for the day. Although there are a couple particular ones that I would draw your attention to. So for getting our shoulders nice and warmed up and primed, we can do what is essentially what I call a pike to plank walk. So here's how you do it. You're going to stand like normal, straight up, and then you're going to slowly start bending forward all the way down to the floor. And by the way, try to keep your legs as straight as possible with these. As soon as you bend all the way forward to where your hands start touching the floor, then you start walking forward with your hands like so. And try to keep your arms as straight as possible as well. You want to try to focus this more on the shoulders, walking your arms, and not your biceps or your triceps. Since you're warming up your shoulders, you want to try to use the shoulders for this movement. So you walk all the way down, all the way forward until you end up in a perfectly good push-up position. And then essentially what you do is you will reverse that process and you'll walk yourself back up with your hands, and same thing, trying to keep your core nice and tight and your legs as straight as possible. So do these for a few reps at a time, and after a few minutes you'll feel that everything's getting nice and warmed up. Your wrists will get worked even more, your shoulders are going to get nice and warm and mobilized, your core is going to get worked, your legs, everything is going to feel nice and solid. And then after that you can move to your shoulder mobility and flexibility movements. Now a great one for mobility and stretching would be to grab either a straight bar or a resistance band, and you would grip it somewhat wide, and you would start from front and go all the way to the back in a rotation, and then you go from back to front, and you just do that a few times, and that really mobilizes the shoulders, also while giving them a very good stretch. Okay, so our wrists and our hands are feeling pretty good at this point. Our shoulders are nice and solid, they're warmed up and good to go, everything's feeling great. Next we need to focus on our core. Now a fairly strong core is required for all this to work, so try to keep your midsection in check first and foremost. Now this one's pretty easy. You shouldn't require much just to get your core a little warmed up. I would just recommend some static holds. For example, I would probably do about 2 to 3 sets of just standard planks, and then 2 to 3 more sets of boat holds. Both of which I would say about 20 to 30 second holds would be sufficient enough. You just don't want to over fatigue your core or anything like that, because you're just getting started. You just want to warm it up, get it fired up enough to where it's not going to be burdensome when you just start the progression process. Okay, so once you've gotten all that down, you should feel nice and primed and ready to go. Your body's moving around all comfortably. Your mind is all focused. Let's go learn some handstands, shall we? So real quick, the process can be different for everyone out there, but I want you all to know that there are basically 3 key factors involved in learning the handstand. The first is confidence. The second is a wall. And the third, and perhaps most important, is patience. So in case I haven't already, I need to make this very clear. You are not going to learn these handstands very quickly. It's a very complicated move for your body to learn. You're probably not going to be able to stand on your hands by yourself for at least a few seconds until maybe a few months later after you started. And that's if you're consistent with it. So, just being real with you. I think I just shot our viewership down the toilet by saying that, but you know, whatever. Everybody wants everything right now. Now, one little piece of advice. As you progress, you're going to want to learn how to keep your body in a straight line at all times when you're learning the handstand. None of that banana stuff counts. If you are constantly doing banana handstands, or even just the practice thereof, all you're really going to do is jack up your spine. Why? Because when you're doing that full spinal extension, your core is essentially relaxed and all the pressure is being put on your spine in that position. Now it's easier for people to do the handstands this way, but over time, you're going to find that it's going to take a pretty detrimental toll on your back. Point is, no bananas allowed here. Get it out of my sight. They are useless. Get it out of here.
Bring it back. I don't care what you're doing. Bring it where you got it before. Get it out of here. I don't care. You understand? Get it out of here.
So there's two things that we're going to start off with, and I would recommend doing these around the same time as each other. Just kind of go back and forth between the two, work at it until you get a little bit better at them. The first is essentially an assisted handstand. What you're going to do is you're going to place your feet on a platform such as a chair or a table or a couch, anything that's going to be high enough to where you're going to be taking most of the focus out of your legs for the most part, but transferring said focus into your core and your arms and your shoulders. Now what you were essentially looking for here is to find that nice straight upside down position to where you're basically half of your body is doing the actual handstand portion, and you're doing it right. You're trying to get the feel for contracting your core nice and tight, getting your shoulders completely depressed downward towards the floor, getting the hands in the right positions, just finding that overall feel for being upside down and contracting all the necessary muscles for balancing the handstand itself. Now while you're learning that, you're also going to want to do something that's going to build up your confidence. How we're going to do that is pretty much by learning kick-ups. Now the kick-ups are, well, pretty self-explanatory really. Essentially, it's an exercise in finding the sweet spot. Now this procedure is really quite simple, yet it does take a little while for your body to figure out. See, all you're trying to do is find the right momentum that's required for getting your body in that upright position, just to where you're about ready to feel that center of balance point. Now, like I said, it's going to take a little while, and there are other ways around that. You just want to try to work on these two main things, at least for a little while, until you start moving on to the wall. Once you've pretty much gotten the optimal strength to hold yourself up in the general position of the handstand, and at the same time you got a pretty good feel for kicking up your feet, then find a wall you must. Now be forewarned, this is probably where you might be for what may feel like an eternity. But don't let that discourage you, for the payoff is well worth the time and effort. Now using a wall here, just like everything else we've done so far, is fairly simple. Just set yourself up to where your hands are far enough from the wall that you have pretty much no choice but to rest against it once you kick up to it. And those kick-ups that you were supposed to do prior to this, which you better have, don't be skipping any steps here, don't be a scrub. Just use a little bit more oomph and then, hey, Bob's your uncle, you got it, you're up there. Also, a quick disclaimer, make sure you're doing all this safely, don't be falling, don't hurt yourself, and yeah. So once you're against that wall, you feel nice and stable. Now it's time to contract everything and start working on slowly pushing your feet off the wall. Now pushing off with one foot should suffice, as well as perhaps starting with your hands closer and closer to the wall when you kick up. But if you're feeling a bit off with the kick up method, you can also try them by doing a wall walk with your body facing the other direction. Now just remember that once you get so close to the wall using this method, there is going to be a point of no return, so just be careful. All right, hate to break it to you all, but after all of that, you guys are basically on your own from this point forward, so I'm kicking you out of the nest. Once you feel that you were confident enough to try these out without any assistance at all, it's going to be even more of a trial of patience than the wall practice or even anything else prior to that combined. Now whatever you do, never ever stop practicing the progressions for the handstands. You're going to need all the tools available. Even if you get to the handstand itself and you're able to hold it up pretty solid for a few seconds, you're still going to want to do all of this stuff that you learned in this video. Now these are all of the tools that you're ever going to need to get the handstand down. It's a simple process like I said before, but it's going to take a while. You're going to get frustrated, yada yada yada, but fret not. Don't worry about it. Try not to get mad, don't throw shit, and just keep plugging away at it. Hakuna Matata, or something. Yeah. Okay, so my work here is done. That was jolly well good, and I hope you all got something out of it. Now, do us a solid and like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, do all that social media stuff. We need validation, we crave validation, and you need to give it to us now. We demand it. Give it to us. And also, happy handstands to all of you natty folks out there. I wish you all the best in your upside down endeavors. Now I gotta get out of here, so I'll catch you on the flip side. I'll see you later. Toodles. Get it? Flip side, handstands, upside down, whatever.